Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. Well, welcome back to Wednesday, the 15th of February, 2023 out here at Giga-Texas. And you may not be able to tell right now because of the conditions, but earlier it was quite foggy. I ended up having to delay my flight for a few hours. And you'll notice that at the beginning of the flight, it's a little bit more foggy than it is at the end. But we're able to see quite a bit of neat and interesting things today. The first thing I want to talk about in the intro is here over on the east side, that small parking lot that's used for testing and calibration of the vehicles before they are moved over to the transportation lot, is getting the solar canopies installed over that supercharger system. And we kind of speculated that this was going to happen a few months ago, and in fact now it is definitely happening. So pretty good use of the fact that it's going to have some covers to protect from the sun, but also to generate some electricity, which is really cool to see. The second thing that I want to show you is up here over at the die shop next to the battery cathode plant. The interesting development besides the structure and the slab work that they've been doing on the ground in various different sections is this image here. As you can see, they've already installed another bridge crane. In fact, this is a dual bridge crane. So it has two of these very large and heavy bars that connect to the bridge crane rails on either side of this bay and run the full length as well. And you can see it's the characteristic red with the white Tesla emblem. So very cool to see just how fast they're moving up here. One other thing that I want to show you today is here down at the southeast corner of the stamping machine structure. Now, we saw in my previous video that they are painting that section, and now, as you can see by this image, they're expanding it to the south end of the building. So this has a couple of implications that are very interesting to talk about. Not only is it one that the building is going to be white, and it looks like they are starting in this end and they're going to work their way around the building, and this will also match the cyber berms that they've painted white as well. But also the fact that they're spending time and money on painting this end of the building suggests that maybe that south wall will not be removed, and that new building that they're going to be constructing just to the south will be separate with some connections of some sort. So a little bit of a different change from what we've kind of talked about and speculated a few months ago about the construction on the south end of the building. There's a lot more to see today. You can tell by the video the wind has definitely picked up, but otherwise plenty of information along with the video, and I hope that you enjoy it. As always, thank you very much for your support, and I hope that you have a great rest of the week. Take care. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, believe it or not, this is a great improvement from what the weather looked like just a couple of hours earlier. So I decided to go ahead and start it now as the fog started to clear, and we'll continue down the west side of the building headed towards the south, and we'll try to take a look at some of the new developments that are underway. And as we continue to do the flight, we'll note that the visibility continues to improve throughout the entire video. So hang tight, it won't be quite this foggy throughout the rest of the video. But here I just wanted to show you some recycling that is going on. You can see that they put it into this truck, it's compacted, and then they put it onto one of these trailers, and then it's hauled away. And this is one of the areas of the building that does a lot of recycling of materials that are used inside. As we continue a little bit further to the south here, what I'm showing you is this new clearing that they have, this depression that's been excavated. You can see quite a bit of the work around this area. Also, this delivery truck is bringing some more trees. You can see the trees on the truck itself, and then you can see a few other ones located on the right-hand side of the screen. So it looks like we're going to be seeing some more landscaping and vegetation installed on this portion of the building very soon. We can also take a look at this landscape section. You can see that grade has been improved. It looks like they're putting down a almost like a geotextile membrane, that black fabric on the ground. So be interesting to see what they do with this particular area. In front of the doors, we can see concrete pours are occurring right now, and it's on this section on either side of this trapezoidal center area. Also, you can see the cyber berms, how they are starting to take shape as well. I've had some viewers indicate that they think that the pattern for the trapezoid repeats inside the door. So next time when I get there and it's light enough, I'll try to see if we can get some views inside that area. So let's continue towards the south end of the building, along with all of these receiving doors and the trucks lined up, to show you some of this activity that is going on here with these excavators. It looks like they are preparing a trench across the road to continue the installation of the blue water pipe. Also, here with this red equipment, this is Griffin, and they do dewatering systems. You can take a look at the links here. They'll be in the video description as well. But it looks like this station here is some sort of dewatering. So it looks like they may be taking or extracting a lot of the water under this particular area. You can also see this hose that kind of goes out towards the east. And I think it's also related to this dewatering operation. So another very interesting development here at Giga-Texas. As we fly farther to the south, I'll give you a good overall view of the south end, and also the number of Model Ys are here on the temporary parking lot, and also getting supercharged at that south end of the building. And also you can see this trailer. This is one of many now starting to show up on the south end. And usually these trailers are used by the crews and the contracted company that does the construction. And with this one here, and also coming up on the right hand side of the screen, you'll see 3 more. I think this is another good sign that we're going to see some sort of construction beginning in this side of the building soon. Now, one of the things you'll notice on the southeast corner of the building, it looks like they are painting more of the south end, and they're going to be working their way towards the west from where they are at this corner. This brings up a very interesting possibility, as we talked in the intro, that a change in the construction has happened yet again, and the new structure that will be constructed on the south end may be separate from the building with some sort of connections. It looks like that south wall is going to be retained after all. But also this gives you a good idea of the way the south end looks right now, and also how the building will look when it is completely painted, or accurately as a stain on the concrete in this white color. And it's also duplicated on many of the cyber berms on the north end as well. I'll bring the drone down a little bit lower altitude to take a look on the south end of the cyber berm. You can take a look at the equipment that is here, also some of the steel components. There's a yellow crane now, those 3 trailers that I had mentioned, and also these trailers with the rebar sections as well. So a lot of progress getting ready for construction on this end of the building. As I alluded to a little bit earlier, the Model Ys are still being lined up here using these supercharger stations on this southwest corner, and also on the south end of the building here. That small door on the left is where the Model Ys used to exit from the building after the production was completed, but there's now a new location, and I'll show you that in just a bit. These 2 doors are for stamping 2. That's where inside they're assembling the stamping presses, the AIDA and others. And then here you can see the company Nalca, which we covered a little bit more in detail in my previous video. The crews are now doing that concrete staining. It looks like white paint, and they're extending to the south of the building. You can also see how they put plastic on the windows, also on the doors during the staining process. On the southeast corner of the stamping here, we can see all of these blue wrapped items, the crates with the blue tops and the white tops. These are more of the parts necessary for the AIDA stamping press and some of the other metal forming machines that are being installed in Stamping 2 as well. As I gain a little bit of altitude and go over the power lines, there's a few things that I want to show you here. First, next to this platform where they load items up onto the second floor body in white, you can see the two chutes. They are now operational. They have the bins where the refuge is coming out. You can also see the silver wrapped items on the left. Those are more robotic assemblers. And then that large door where you just see that Model Y coming out, you'll see some more Model Ys coming out in just a second. This is where they have now revised the exit point for produced Model Ys, and there's another one coming out. So I believe that this has now replaced the one on the south end of the building, which is necessary and an important step because of the construction that is getting ready to happen on that end of the building. So another major development here at Giga-Texas with a new point of exit, something called the end of line for the Model Ys. As you can see here, both of the new receiving docks have got the concrete aprons completed. The doors are finished off with the load levelers, and also they have trailers, so they're definitely operational now. This smaller parking lot, this is the testing and calibration lot before they are moved over to the new vehicle lot and transportation lot. You can see there's quite a bit of Model Ys all arranged here. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see where the Model Ys have been arranged where the test track is. But the biggest development here is on these superchargers. They are now installing the canopies that we discussed as a likelihood a few months back. What you can see is some of the columns have been installed. They've put the braces. They've already started installing some of the roof, and you can see that they are solar panels as well. There's another large panel section getting ready to be lifted up to complete this portion of the supercharger canopy. So another great development here, and I think it helps answer a question a lot of viewers have had about will they put covers and use solar panels here? The answer is definitely yes. We can also see continued work on this concrete apron section where they have all of the dirt right in front of these new receiving doors. Looks like they are still preparing that surface for rebar, and then we'll see some concrete poured. Another item I want to show you here next to where all these castings and the casting racking mount systems are is there's this new stairwell or staircase that was installed in concrete, and I've had some Patreons ask me to take a look at this section so they could see what it looks like close up. So there you go. And you can also see some more earthwork right across the road as well. So they'll probably extend that staircase across over to this parking lot. We can also see this intersection or traffic circle continues to have a lot of activity. They've poured more concrete recently, and looks like the crews are preparing another section for concrete very soon. And it'll be interesting to see how this looks once it is completed. Now on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see them lifting up that section for the canopy over the solar panel canopies over the superchargers. This angle gives you a good view of how that canopy looks from the side and how it will operate to help not only generate solar power, but also to protect the Model Ys as they are getting supercharged after production. Over at the new car staging and transportation lot, we can see it is quite active and many more cars than they were on my previous video, and a lot of transport trucks lining up to pick up the Model Ys. In this clearing section where we see more of the materials being stored, at the bottom of the screen you can see that tree. That is another tree that was relocated up from where this small house and this little complex is. They've been moving the trees, and at the bottom of the screen is yet another one that they've moved, and to prepare this section so they can continue construction. Here we see the blue water pipes and the black's HDPE treated water pipes, and the trenching on the right hand side is starting to be filled in, indicating that the blue water pipe installation is nearing complete on this section. You also see some more excavation near that lined pond as well. So a lot of progress again to connect the battery cathode plant complex with the water main and treated water. Now this is the die shop. You can see that the structure is virtually complete with all of the steel materials. There's some of the beams for the roof that have yet to be installed, but right here where you see the beams missing is a brand new bridge crane that has just been installed. Now this is a dual bridge crane, so you can see those two large bars that go to either side of the bay and connected to the bridge crane rail. And then you can see the components that have the hoists in the hook for picking up materials in the middle between those two. So that's a very, very heavy lift bridge crane. We can also see work going on here in these densely packed and reinforced rebar and concrete piers. Looks like the foundation on the left is really coming along now, and the one on the right is still waiting for a little bit of construction. Looks like some more concrete's being poured next to one of those columns as well. You can also see that section in yellow, that's a moisture barrier with a lot of the rebar preparing for concrete. You can also see that poured concrete slab next to it. And these are extremely thick pads, or slabs, which is very interesting. They're about 3 feet or nearly a meter in thickness, which is just amazing. You can also see crews adding more of the roof decking on this end of the building, working their way towards the south. As we get a little bit closer towards the battery cathode plant itself, I'll give you a good view of this galvanized steel structure. And what you can see is there's the two new sections on the ground with forms for more concrete. Most likely those are the footings for the heavily wrapped large devices on the left and the white. You can see that graded roof section has been added, and the tan pumps with the black components, and then a lot more of the piping has been installed as well. So as I pull away, I will turn the drone back towards the north, give you a good view of the way the west side of the battery cathode plant looks today. That temporary structure that has a lot of materials waiting for installation. And you can see up to the left where some of the materials are stored, and that crane. And I will turn back to give you a good view of the western side of the battery cathode complex, just so you can kind of get a good sense of the progress here today. I'm going to pull back a bit just to give you a view a little bit further north of the battery cathode plant with a lot of the materials, some of the workshops, some trailers, and some of the equipment that has been stored here. You can see quite a bit of that red and blue silver material has been recently delivered and is being stockpiled up there. On the bottom of the screen, you can see a new yellow crane with many of the weights that has been delivered, so we may see that in action pretty soon. Next to the green covered tent, we can see those black items. Those are louvers, and they're starting to be installed on the west side of the building. And then this is opening. We see the SACME presses covered with black. We can see the platforms and a very large component wrapped in white being installed on top of that platform. And as I pull away and we take a look more on this east side, you'll see quite a bit more of these white painted platform components, especially right here. And this gives you an idea of where or how these are being installed in the building and what role that they play with allowing equipment to be installed on or in the vicinity of those platforms. I'm going to bring the drone up a little bit higher above where these two temporary platforms are located to show you this covered section on the roof. It looks like they are preparing to install some sort of HVAC system on top of the roof, or it may be an access point to the roof. I'm not really sure, but very interesting development. So I'm going to pull away, give you a good view of the overall battery cathode component complex from this side and this vantage point. And I'm going to fly over the roof just a little bit and give you a view from the east side of the die shop so you can just get a good sense of the progress with the steel structure. Also the ground slabs. Again, these are very thick slabs that are being installed on this section of the building as well. Looks like there's an inset slab being prepared at the bottom of the screen. And you can also see what looks like a large cargo door being prepared in the bottom of the screen here as well. And also you can see that red bridge crane under that section without the beams on the roof. So quite a bit of progress going on up here today, and glad to be able to show you despite all the fog earlier this morning. What I'm giving you a good view here is on this clearing that used to be the temporary parking lot is now being used for a growing amount of materials. Some of them are white painted steel parts. Some of them are these crates with the green tops, and a variety of other materials as well. I mentioned earlier this old housing complex, and this is where the trees are being relocated from, and I think very soon we'll see this house finally be demolished. I did notice here this yard truck bringing some more Model Y bodies. They bring them to the east side for recycling, and I think that is what this is doing right now. So very interesting, a lot of activity both here and in other parts of the building with Model Y bodies, and I'll show you some more a little bit later. So let's approach up to the electrical switch yard and take a look at some of the activity up here today. So what we see here is both of the transformers have been installed onto their concrete pads. The grates around the trench, the perimeter on both has been installed. You can see those large cylindrical devices that have been installed. Those are tanks for oil, and then you can see the coils that have been installed on the south side of both of the transformers. Those are all used for cooling of the transformers, and the fact that they use oil for cooling is why they have that trench with the grate around the perimeter in case there's a leak at some point. As we continue to move our way north towards the electrical switchyard itself, where they're doing some more of the drilling and footing construction, you can see where the workers are. An interesting development here. What the workers are actually doing is they're making the footings for the last A-frame structure. There will eventually be 7 A-frames, and the 2 that they're working on right here are 2 of what will be 4 footings to support that A-frame, very similar to the A-frame nearby. So pretty cool to see that progress. Here at the north end, you can see that cylindrical rebar cage. That's going to support a 5th new steel power pole, and also you can see the crews in those white trucks are doing some more work with some of the basic wiring that'll be installed onto those large power poles. And this is just a good view looking to the southwest over the new permanent switchyard and how it appears today. So quite a bit of progress going on up here as well, and it's nearing the point where we'll see some of the high tension wires connected to the electrical switchyard. So maybe within the next couple of weeks we'll see this at least be tested for operation. On the lower left you can see those 2 steel poles that are part of the 5th large steel power pole that we will be seeing installed pretty soon. Also here in this clearing and these vehicles underneath the towers, particularly the smaller tower, you can see the horizontal drill. That's that kind of orange item, and that's what's used for that HDPE pipe that we talked about over closer towards the battery cathode plant. As we approach the northeast corner of the casting machine structure, one of the things that I want to show you is just how the number of castings and the rack mounts for those castings looks today on the east side of the building. And looks like quite a bit of them, those castings have been made and ready for movement over to the body in white. You can also see here next to these rack mounts many more of the Model Y test bodies, and these are both the 2170 variants with the steel floor and no front casting, and the white one is a 4680 variant with no floor and both a front and rear casting. You can see some other test castings nearby these bodies as well. Also near these trailers you can see a couple more, one in white, two in that kind of gold primer test bodies as well. And this is also a good closer view of the north end of the building with more of the components and the ducting that still need to be moved inside, but clearly the amount of materials here has definitely decreased. So more is going inside, and soon this will be cleared out. The crane is lifting up what looks like spools of wire to the fourth floor of the 4680 battery cell production version of the building. And then on the roof here we can see the cooling tower enclosures and also some of the vents. And you can see some of the vapor raising up through those vents, showing that production and activity is definitely going on inside. You can also see what looks like more of the solar panels stacked next to that cooling tower, ready for future installation at some point. So I'm going to give you a good long high altitude pull away from the building across the east side, just to give you a good view of how this side of the entire construction site looks from a higher altitude, and also how the building looks from this perspective as well. I hope you enjoyed the views, the discussion, and glad that the fog was able to clear so I could show you all of these new discoveries and developments around the site. As always, thank you very much for your support. Have a great week.